What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And man, am I tired about talking about this stuff, but I guess it's still not gone away, so we have to do it. Please forgive me. Let's get into it. Recently, the folks over at Kotaku wrote an article about being blacklisted. And they've been blacklisted by several different publishers, Ubisoft and Bethesda, which are some pretty important people to be able to work with as a gaming journalist. They've been blacklisted for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons mostly has involved doing their fucking jobs. What I mean by this is that Kotaku is known for publishing a good amount of just crap. Things that are not related to gaming or not particularly interesting. McDonald's and KFC and other things that in some cases are sponsored content, in other cases are just things that are going to get hit in the search engine. And again, some of it's just filler. But in these particular cases, they were writing about video games and doing pretty much their best to bring actual interesting news to the reader. Unfortunately for Kotaku, this can be very upsetting for the games companies that they are reporting on, the developers of the games they're reporting on, and it can be a very frustrating situation. In the case of these two cases, they leaked information that could be damaging to the game, to the franchise, to the PR, or to the company itself, and that has gotten them blacklisted by these organizations. And that's a tale as old as time, right? Journalists fighting the people that they're writing about, because in some cases they want to have control over the press. But in this country we have freedom of the press, and sometimes we choose to write about social rights issues with that freedom. Sometimes we write articles about KFC and McDonald's, but sometimes we actually are journalists and write actual things about actual stuff, and that's when I think Kotaku is at its best. Now, I responded to this article in a fairly inflammatory way, which I kind of regret now. But I said that yes, it sucks for Kotaku getting blacklisted by these publishers because I had been blacklisted by Kotaku and it doesn't feel very good. And a lot of that came from a place of hurt because I was once very close with some of the people over there at Kotaku, at least in my mind. They were writing about me on a pretty regular basis. They even did a feel-good piece talking about how I built my business while I was on disability. And after a certain point, those articles stopped. They stopped answering my messages, my emails, my tweets. I completely got froze out, and I could never really understand why. If you look back about a year and a half ago when this whole Gamergate thing started, I was pretty active in that conversation. I was certainly not anti-Gamergate or Gamergate. I landed myself firmly in the middle, wanting to do my best to bridge a gap. And I often talked about this on the NeoGAF board, where admittedly I did not conduct myself at my best. I made some huge mistakes over there, and I've always regretted them, but that's fine. For the most part, that debate went poorly. A lot of people basically saw it as a very one-sided conversation, and the fact that I wanted to have any other part of the other side of that conversation made me a gamer-gator, made me the worst piece of shit humanly possible, and made me completely invalid in any way, and those people have pretty much treated me that way ever since. I was banned from NeoGAF for my, quote, tacit support of a movement harassing women, end quote. I was told time and time again by people on that forum what a worthless piece of shit I was and how terrible I was and how much I hated women. And one of the largest perpetrators of this was an editor over at Kotaku, Jason Schreier. Jason made it abundantly clear on the NeoGAF message board, on that thread, how he felt about my opinions, about how he felt about me, and most importantly, told me time and time again how I should separate myself from the movement, I should never argue their points, how I should publicly condemn them and everyone involved, and I absolutely refused. In my opinion, there are always really bad people involved in Gamergate, and there are also a lot of really bad people involved in anti-Gamergate, and a lot of bad people caught up in the middle as well, but there were tons of good people on either side and in the middle, and I was absolutely not going to throw away any of those people just to appease the people on NeoGAF or Jason or Kotaku or anywhere else. Instead, I would do my best to influence people from the middle and try to open and broaden some minds to think in a more neutral, critical way. And I explained that to Jason. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I was going to do. And I guess people didn't like that. Prior to that, Kotaku had written about me several times. They would include my videos and some of their articles. They would link to my stuff. They would use me as a reference point. It was pretty common that me and Kotaku had some interaction, or they would at least write about me in some way. After that moment, Kotaku has never written about me again. They have not answered messages or emails or tweets that I have sent. They have basically frozen me out entirely. And while it's true that Jason never said that would be what would happen if I didn't do things his way, it certainly did happen. And I guess I do have an anxiety disorder. Maybe I'm a little bit paranoid, but that to me seems like an impossible and ludicrous coincidence. Furthermore, in my opinion, anyone who's ever read the things that Jason has said to me publicly, much less privately, they will deduce that that was certainly the tone and the message he was conveying. The only other time Kotaku has ever mentioned me on their website since that date was in a very negative light. Nathan Grayson wrote an article based off of a discovery that Total Biscuit had made, in which he talked about sponsored deals on YouTube, specifically surrounding Shadow of Mordor. Nathan reached out to me. He gave me an opportunity to defend myself, which I'll always be grateful for. And I love the fact that he was there to make sure that YouTubers are on the up and up and are doing the right thing. Regardless, that article did cause me a fair amount of discomfort and a fair amount of strife, and I had to deal with the fallout of that. And that's the only other time they've ever mentioned me, was in this very negative light. Despite all of this overwhelming evidence, when I mentioned that I've been blacklisted by Kotaku, Stephen Totilo says to me that no, that has absolutely not happened. We don't do that kind of thing here at Kotaku. Whereas Jason Schreier is much less kind about it and actually calls me a liar to my face. Now, if you know me at all, I pride myself on my integrity. I absolutely 100% need and want my viewers to trust me. And in my real life and online persona as well, I am honest to a fault. I am an open book. I talk about all of my personal issues. I talk about my life. I tell you literally everything that's going on, and I will never give you anything other than my unbridled, unabashed opinion, whether people like it or not. The exception to that, of course, is my Francis character, but those are sketches, and intelligent people already know that. I don't need to explain that here, but just in case you didn't know that, now you do. But what a frustrating situation, because I have had Kotaku's back long before they ever wrote about me a single time. I have been in arguments for them over and over again, and even to this day, I still believe in my heart of hearts, even though they're a Gawker organization, even though they are part of the problem right now, I still believe, as I did a year ago, as I did 4 years ago, that they can turn it around and make it a wonderful website that serves the consumer better than I ever could. They just have to put in the work to get there. Calling someone in new media a liar when you should instead be apologizing to that person, I think, is pretty much the opposite of the way that you'll become that Kotaku. And what's frustrating about that is I just started the dialogue with Stephen Totilo in email for the first time in a year in the hopes that we could resolve this and do a little fence mending. And instead, Jason Schreier decides to take it in the whole other direction. And, buddy, if you want to escalate, I'm more than glad to oblige, even though I hate this shit. Because I don't need this kind of drama to generate page views. I'm pushing through 14 million views a month, which is more, if I remember, than Kotaku does in its entirety. So I don't want any part of this. I don't want to be talking about this. I don't want to deal with this bullshit. I don't need to generate outrage or bullshit to get page views or clicks. I just simply report what's going on in my life, what's going on in the world, what's going on in gaming that's important to me, and people enjoy listening to it and watching it. The closest thing to manufactured outrage that I do is my Francis sketches, and most intelligent people know that those are parodies of the bad reporting you do anyway. So please, can we not do this? Can we please fucking not do this? How about we just get our apologies out of the way and go in a different direction? I apologize for not rolling over. I apologize for not agreeing with you. I apologize for not doing what you told me to do. All right, now it's your turn, Jason. And to my listeners, I'm so sorry to waste an upload on something like this, but when somebody challenges my integrity, I'm absolutely going to respond, especially when it's a company or a person who has worked so hard to make me look bad already. I know that if I don't defend myself immediately, then I let them have even an inch of slack, they're going to use it to hang me. I hate that that's true, but that must be the case. Holy shit, is that frustrating. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. I'll try to do something fun for the next video. And no more of this dramatic bullshit.